So let's go back in time, I guess, a little bit if we could, Jason. Let's go back to the fall of 2020. I believe that tournament was on Lake Erie, and you won the championship there. Tell us what you did, where you went. Give us a recap of that tournament.
Just an awesome event last fall. It was in October, but it wasn't fall. It was what I considered late summer. The water temps are still in the 60s, so fall patterns weren't relevant. Came down to a numbers game once I quickly figured out that the biggest fish were way east. We could not get to them. So I found an area like first day of practice that had a bunch of fish, and quickly realized that if I caught 5 or 6 fish out there, one of those was going to be above average. And I considered 5 pounds or bigger above average. So after fishing for 5-6 days in practice, trying to figure out if there was any bigger schools or bigger fish around, I narrowed it down to that area. And day one kind of went as planned. I had to relocate the fish. They moved about 1.5 miles, 2 miles. Once I relocated them, catching them was pretty easy, and I had a decent bag. I was sitting in 11th after day one. Every day during the tournament, I would pre-fish my way back to the ramp just in case it would get windy and we couldn't get out to the Canadian line, which is where I was fishing, which was about 18 miles. So day two, day two, we went out. We had a blow day in between there, so things were going to change. Went back to my area after the blow day, and the fish were still where I left them, and immediately started catching good fish on the first pass. Caught a 7.5 pounder, which for that tournament was a kicker, and had a big bag by noon. And then I pre-fished my way back again, and I found that same school, which I called the 7 Mile School. It was 7 miles offshore. And I caught some fish there, but didn't upgrade anything. So day three, I had that in my back pocket. And we took off on day three, and it was windy. I didn't plan on it being windy, but we got offshore probably 5 miles, and we were in 4 and 5 footers instantly. And I said, I can't make that run. It's going to be too hard to fish. And so I stopped on that 7 Mile School, and I made the first pass, and I caught, I think, 3. Made another pass, caught a limit. And one of them was a 5.11, which is above average. Sure. I said, we're staying here all day. So we stayed there all day. I got a pretty decent bag. I still needed to upgrade 1 fish. And a half hour to go, I ended up catching it and threw it in a box. And I basically won by 1/2 pound. Without that fish, it would have been so tight. It could have been either me or Corey Springle to win. And luckily, I bagged that fish, and it was history.
Right. And Corey Springle's not a guy you want behind you either, is he?
Well, we're roommates, so we know each other real well. We know the areas. We pre-fish together basically and share information. And it was funny because we got done with the tournament, and Corey and I had dinner along with a bunch of other people, and we looked at each other and said, how did we end up first and second? Because we really didn't fish, the same school, the same spots, the same baits. We kind of did our own thing, and we ended up first and second. So that was really ironic.